Necromaniacs podcast. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Necromaniacs horror podcast. How's it going, Jeff?
It's going great, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. It's Saturday when we're recording this, and
Yeah.
got a full weekend actually coming up, so I'm excited about that.
Yeah, you said you know doing a little bit of traveling and going to see some shows.
Our friends Pelican are playing in New York, and gonna check them out tomorrow night. And then
Nice.
tonight I'm gonna have dinner with our mutual friend Selden Hunt, and
Excellent.
good relaxing evening coming up tonight.
That's awesome. Please tell the Pelican guys and Selden I said hello.
I will, I will, I will.
Yeah. I've been enjoying you and Mike's coverage of the Jaws series so far.
Dude, that kind of sprung up organically, and like now, some of the listeners want us to continue. So we've made a commitment to doing Jaws 3 and Jaws 4. And that should round out the summer, man. You know, that should be a nice summer podcast series.
I might have to jump in on the Jaws 4 episode.
Actually, you want to do that? We'll do all three of us.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Yeah, no, I think that would be perfect, actually, if you think about it. Since this became like an impromptu summer special, it's only right that we have you as part of it.
Yeah, that'd be fun. I actually Jaws was on TV yesterday. It's the 50th anniversary, so Jaws is everywhere. And I caught like the last hour of the film, and I mean Jaws is perfect. There's literally not one single flaw in that. I guess you can say the shark. It looks a little goofy in spots, but I don't know. It's about as perfect as a movie can get, and has aged wonderfully.
Right on, man.
And Jaws 2 is okay.
Yeah, Jaws 2 is like a slasher movie. Like we talked about this in the episode.
Yeah, that was such a great take. I never really thought of it like that. And it predates the slasher movement really too, which is very interesting.
Yeah, at that time only like Black Christmas and a couple others have been out. But yeah, it's the thing is it's like I was telling we were talking about this like the first Jaws is like almost like a Heming like the second half specifically is like
Mhm.
this kind of like Hemingway-esque Jack London man against nature film. You know,
Yeah,
it takes on this story of like, to build a fire or something like that, where you're surviving against nature and the shark is like this kind of atavistic presence of nature, and then in the second one it's just basically a slasher movie with tons of like high school kids getting taken out by a shark.
exactly. Yeah. And the original director, Hancock there, he directed Let's Scare Jessica to Death.
Yeah.
And be very curious. I wish that version existed. Like I want to see that movie that they were going
Yeah.
to make.
Yeah, totally. Where the town's like decimated because of just like how all the horror that happened there, and that's ultimately like way more interesting than what was made as Jaws 2.
Yeah, and I guess it was just too dark or something, even though I find Jaws 2 to be a darker movie than the first one.
In some
Um,
ways, yeah, definitely. In some ways,
yeah.
just there's definitely scenes of like people getting killed that probably had their whole life ahead of them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's pretty horrific stuff. Jaws 3 is an abomination. And I saw that in the theater and I'll save my thoughts for Jaws 4. But it's a good time. I'll say that.
Well, that's the one that we're that's the one that we're doing next is Jaws 3. So we'll
Oh,
give
well,
we'll give our thoughts on that one.
I don't think I've seen that one since I was a little kid, so I can't really say, but I'm really curious to see what you guys talk about.
I'm not even sure if I've ever seen it before, honestly.
Really?
Yeah. I
You,
I it's a 3D one, right?
yeah, you've probably seen it and just completely forgotten about it. It's
Yeah.
very forgettable.
I don't know, man. I don't remember. But before we get going too far, let's give a shout out to everyone. So of course, if you're listening to this show, you definitely should be listening to the other podcasts created by the Horsemen of the Podcasting Apocalypse. Kicking things off every other Monday, we've got Brandon Legion's Horror Wolf 666. Up next on Tuesdays, we have the greatest extreme music podcast in the land, Into the Necrosphere. Wednesday is our first double shot of the week. We've got Everything Went Black, which I host that one. And then we also have Iblis Manifestations by Cheyenne of the band Trivax. Thursday, as well as being Necro Thursday, which you're listening to the Necromaniacs podcast right now, we have day one of Soul Knox brought to you by Carl Hikara. Friday, we have an irreverent pop culture podcast called Spitball Media. Saturday, day off, go out, enjoy the summer weather, go out to the beach, get attacked by a shark, something like that. Because Sunday, the day of the Lord, the evil minister, the minister of sinister, Carl Hikara returns with Soul Knox Day 2. And Carl and I are rounding out. We're in the home stretch of our Darkness Weaves project, where we switch off each month who does the show, but we're covering the work of Carl Edward Wagner. We're doing the final novel, Darkness Weaves, but we've uncovered some out of print short stories that you can only find them in a couple of different novels out there, versions out there, these collections, and they're not novels, collections. They are not part of the ebook that is on Kindle, so you got to really look hard for these. But we're going to be hitting those last few short stories after we wrap up Darkness Weaves.
After Carl Edward Wagner, what's next?
Well, that's the end of the Darkness Weaves project, and then we're
Hmm.
going to move on to probably another author. I think I'm not sure who.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah,
May
but
I,
we
may,
got.
may I suggest Thomas Ligotti?
Well, we actually that's something that we might flesh that out because we covered some Legati on Carl's Eldritch Tales sub-series. So yeah, maybe we'll expand on that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. There you
Yes.
have it.
Yeah. So we got a couple of calls on the Necrophone. So if you want to check out some of these calls, you want to give us a shout, you can hit us at 908-913-0782. First up, we got Mike from Telford.
Necro Hoods. It's Mike from Telford. It's Thursday. It's 4th of July. Happy 4th of July, fellas. It's 10:30. I'm getting ready to listen to the new episode. I'm up here in New York with my family celebrating. I totally just forgot what I was going to say. You can play this or not for the air. Just want to say hello to you fellas. Little recommendation here. I don't know if you've seen the Hammer films that they have started to release films on their own. I guess they're a company again. And they're putting out some reissues. They're pretty pricey, but just in case anybody's wondering, I have the Captain Cronus release, and I just got the Quatermass Experiment, the first film release. They're pricey, but they're amazing. And if you got the dough, which I know it's not easy because I don't have all of them. I don't plan to get all of them, but they're really spectacular and worth the dough if you have it. And also a company called Mystic Vault Records, which I think is a division of TerrorVision. They just released the Deadbeat at Dawn soundtrack on vinyl, and they did a T-shirt as well. Jump on that if you can. I just got mine yesterday. Fucking fantastic. I hope they do some more Van Bever stuff, and hope everybody's doing good. I'll be talking to you soon. I don't have nothing to recommend. It's 10:30. I've been drinking since 2. That's how I roll on days like this, and it's been a really good day. So I hope you guys are all good, and I'll be talking to you soon. Later.
The Hammer films, always a big fan. I actually ordered that Quatermass Experiment reissue, so that's really cool. Yeah, Deadbeat at Dawn. I need to get like a yet another version of Deadbeat at Dawn. Brought to us by, of course, the great Jim Van Beber. Are you familiar with the work of Jim Van Beber?
I'm not sure, actually.
All right, he is like the most independent of independent filmmakers ever. Like he doesn't even have actors in his movies. Like they're like just people he knows. Like his friends are in the films basically. And he made several films. Deadbeat at Dawn. He didn't make a short. He went straight up. I'm making a feature length film. And he made this like adventure film that takes place in some dystopian future where he's like doing all the stunts himself. He's got just people like his friends are in the films. And but somehow, but dude, this is a testament to how great of a director he is. It works. You overlook any of the acting shortcomings, and the movie is well edited. It moves right along, and it's a great fucking movie, man. I love it. And Van Bever's doing like martial arts in the movie, and like doing like nunchucks and stuff, and like jumping off buildings and everything. It's like the coolest thing ever.
You know what? I think I have heard of this. I think the Red Letter Media channel might have covered it. The YouTube channel might have covered him and that film in particular. But no, I had not seen that.
It's a fantastic movie. And then probably his opus though is his Manson family movie that he made, which took him like 10 years to complete.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I saw that in the theater actually. There was a showing. I have multiple versions of that movie, of course. Um, Manson being like one of the, pretty big subject of interest for me over the years.
Mm.
Not so much these days, but like all throughout the 90s and I was like obsessed with like the Manson family and like the more occult aspects to Charles Manson, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. And so Van Bever made a film not glorifying the Manson family. And there's a lot of footage of interviews of him talking about how like, he presents this not like they're heroes, like they're these degenerates that, are horrible people, so there's no romanticizing of the Manson family. Um, he shot it like he would make money and shoot it and like sell his blood, to like make money so he can continue to make the film. And they're shooting on weekends and at nights. And like then there was months where they weren't shooting. And it literally took him 10 years to complete the movie.
Wow.
Yeah. So it showed somewhere. I forgot exactly. I think it was at like Columbia University, maybe I know that I went with two friends and we went to like a college, I think. And it was in some room somewhere at a college. And that's where we saw the movie. And
Oh, shit.
there's like 10 people there. It was kind of cool. And then I remember like um the DVD came out and I got that. And then, I love Jim Van Bever. He stopped making films though. He
Yeah.
um he also produced a bunch of necrophagia videos and he's part of like that kind of metal world, like a lot of like, he's friends with the dudes like Mike Nine from I Hate God, he's friends with him. Like
Oh, okay.
yeah. Then there was a bunch of shorts that he made, which are great, and there was a collection of all that stuff, which I have. And I love Jim Van Bever. I hope someday that he makes more movies.
Right on, man. And a side note, you actually took me to one of the Manson murder houses when you came to LA.
That's right. You
And
used to live down the street from them.
I had no idea I lived on the same street as one of the Manson murders. You told me. You're like, like that happened right down the street from you.
Yeah. Well,
No idea.
they changed the number.
Right, yeah.
Because remember, like we were all sketchy too. Like we were like walking down the street, like trying to
Like,
figure out which house it is. I'm surprised no one called the cops on us.
yeah, I know. I'm
Yeah,
sure they're probably used to it at that point.
yeah. So that was, yeah, dude. Respect, man. Definitely, Van Bever is a giant in my eyes in independent filmmaking.
Nice.
Yeah. So up next we got Tavis from Pittsburgh.
What's up, gentlemen? It's David from Pittsburgh. Been meaning to call in for a bit, especially since the last show. It was a good discussion. Been wondering what you guys were going to think about 28 years later, and I felt that I fell in between Mike and Jeff, probably a little closer to Jeff, actually. Felt like a lot of the shifts in tone were kind of off and kind of weird. But Mike, after listening to the show, you did bring up some good points. I never really considered or thought about the folk horror aspect of it, and especially that ending when I was just kind of like, what the hell was this? And you thought, it was one of the most British things they could do, and thinking about it now, it was some sort of like strange Benny Hill-esque, type, ending to it. So definitely have to watch that again when it comes out on, streaming or whatever, and curious to hear what some of the other listeners thought. But you mentioned that documentary too, "We Kill for Love." That was really cool. I dug that a lot. Like how it kind of touched on like video store culture as well. But in that realm of like erotic thriller, was thinking about, you guys should check out that Boxing Helena that David Lynch's daughter did. Great cast. Sherilyn Fenn, Julian Sands, Bill Paxton. Kind of hard to come by. You can find some used copies floating around out there, and it might be in like parts on YouTube, but definitely under the category of erotic thriller. Pretty weird too. I would suggest checking it out, but hope everybody's all fine and well, and enjoying the show, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.
Great hearing from you, Tavis. And once again, man, Pennsylvania in full representation, man. I got to get the propers to our listeners out in Pennsylvania, man. You guys really cool. We got like it seems like we got a vibe, New Jersey, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania vibe. We're excited about that.
Don't forget Connecticut.
And Connecticut. And Connecticut. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. You live in Connecticut now.
I know. Yeah, I forget sometimes too.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, it seems like 28 days later is like people are one way or the other with it, man,
Oh, the new 28 years?
28 years later, yeah.
Yeah, I haven't talked to anyone who's indifferent about the film at all. I got a lot of Instagram messages about that. People really, really loved it, and people kind of like myself really didn't like it. But hey, that's kind of, it's better that than just a complete disaster, or you know what I mean? Like
I
it
agree.
really really evoked a response out of people, which is something, yeah, I'll give it that.
Yeah, it moved you. It moved people in some ways, which I thought was cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Danny Boyle, always an interesting filmmaker, 100%. I'll watch anything the guy does, even if I haven't liked a good amount of his output.
Yeah. And I've never seen Boxing Helena, believe it or not.
Oh man, yeah, that's like 90s, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing that when I lived in Boston during like my stoner phase. So I technically have seen it. I couldn't tell you a thing that happens.
It's a movie that's always been at the periphery of something I want to see. And I'm like, all right, someday I got to watch this. So maybe I need to buckle down and check that out, man. I know much to my chagrin, I've never seen Boxing Helena.
You probably bought it like 20 years ago on DVD and it's still in the wrapper. It's like one of those kind of movies. Yeah, it's one of those kind of movies. Yeah.
I know we did this a little bit out of order, but is there anything that you've seen recently that was cool?
Well, yeah, been on kind of a roll lately.
Oh.
Mike, the first podcast I ever did was with you when we went through our 10 favorite films of 2010 to 2019. And been going through a few of those with three films in particularly, The Babadook, which I put in my top 10. You were a little bit, I think if I remember, you were like, yeah, it was okay. I can't quite remember your thoughts on it, but I really like the movie. I put it at like my number 5 or 6 or something, and holds up really well. However many years later, I think it's 10 years, 12 years later at this point.
Yeah, it's been that long ago, man. That's crazy.
And The Invitation from 2015, which also made my list, and wow, I should have put it higher. I think it was my number 10. And what else? Okay, a movie that was on my honorable mention and in your top 5 was I watched It Follows just a couple nights ago, and I'm insane for not putting that in my top 5. The more like, I don't know, man. I think it's like the third or fourth time I've seen it, and I just saw it as like perfection. It's such a great movie.
Yeah, It Follows is great. Did the sequel come out?
Yeah, yeah. I just when the credits roll, I'm like, wasn't there a sequel announced like 2 years ago? And I guess it starts filming this year. They follow.
All right, cool. Yeah, I wasn't sure if I missed that somehow.
Not sure how I feel about a sequel to that, honestly.
Me neither.
Yeah, I mean, I love how they ended it. Kind of perfect. Kind of don't want to know what happens after that moment, but I guess we will find out.
Yeah.
And like Mr. Mike Scandato, I saw the new Superman film.
Yeah, I think everyone says that movie's really good.
Yeah, man, it was good. I liked it. Very, I wasn't sure what to expect. James Gunn is not a filmmaker I particularly like love, or I mean, I liked his Suicide Squad movie. I didn't really care for the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, but this was, it was good. It was solid. It was a lot of fun. Interesting way to kick off a whole universe. Now, I guess this is going to be like the new DC universe or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, Pretty solid. I mean, Superman was a big deal when I was a kid. I loved those first two Christopher Reeve movies. This is definitely the best one since those.
The Invitation, man. What a great
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah, that's a such a great movie. Um, so creepy, man. Like, and I love the way the first almost like the entire movie, you're kind of guessing, is something going on, is nothing going on until like the last 15 minutes. That when you know what's happening. That was really like the first time I saw that, I didn't even wasn't even sure it was a horror movie. So it kind of kept me guessing. Really, really love that movie.
And that's the acting is great, and it's mainly just people talking, which I think is sick.
Yeah, kind of like the movie we're gonna talk about.
Yeah, yeah,
Very dialogue heavy. What
yeah.
about you, man? You been watching anything?
Well, I've been ripping those shark movies for sure, and I mentioned this to Mike last week, but I'm going to mention it to you that I saw Bring Her Back, which is something we need to cover that one.
Yeah,
Um,
you had texted me about that a
yeah,
couple weeks ago. Yeah.
I'm very interested that in to see what your take is on it because I really, I hated their first movie.
Me too.
Yeah,
A lot. I was really, I mean, I keep saying this every time it comes up. I just don't see what other people saw in that film. I mean, it was everyone's number one movie of that year, and I just didn't like it at all. Just did nothing for me. But
yeah.
you say this new one's good.
I liked it quite a bit actually, and especially like this year, which is a little bit lean on quality horror films. I reckon this will be pretty high up on my list.
It's funny, we were just talking about that, a friend and I. He's like, "So what are your favorite horror movies of the year?" To which I said, "I don't know." Like I don't
Yeah,
think I've seen one that has really blown me away yet.
yeah. I mean, not like last year,
No.
um, but there's movies I definitely liked. But the question is, if they had come out last year, would they even make the list? Would they even be an honorable mention? You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So we got to look at it in that sort of microcosmic sort of way.
It feels like an every other year situation with horror. You'll have like a kind of a mediocre year, then an amazing one, and now I guess
Yeah.
we're back to a maybe a mediocre year. We'll see. It's still like, we're just entering the second half of the year. Plenty of time for at least five or six, in our case, great horror movies to come out.
Yeah. No, totally. So, all right. So that brings us to this week's feature film. We've got
Yeah,
David Cronenberg's The Shrouds, and written and directed by the great David Cronenberg. 120 minutes, so it's 2 hours of your time. The release schedule looks like this: May 20th, 2024, in the Cannes Film Festival. That was when it first debuted. And then this year, April 25th, 2025 in Canada, and April 30th, 2025 in France. So, did there was there like a theatrical release in the States anywhere? I think it was played in the States, right?
it did. I think sometime around March it was playing because I wanted to go see it and it wasn't
Yeah,
playing anywhere near me. I mean, well,
yeah,
like New York, which is I'm not going to drive that far to see a fucking movie.
yeah.
But yeah, very under the radar release.
So we got a really pretty small cast in this movie.
Hmm.
We've got Vincent Cassel as Karsh, Diane Kruger as Becca slash Terry, and she also plays another role, which we'll get to.
Yeah.
The great Guy Pearce as Maury, Sandrine Holt as Su Min Zabo, and Elizabeth Saunders as Gray Foner. All right, so
I don't even
that's
remember who the hell that was.
uh, she was like one of the specialists in the film.
Oh,
So
right.
it was
Okay.
where I mean, she's like a minor character, but those first four are like the main ones.
You know, you mentioned the length of this movie at 120 minutes. I think this is Cronenberg's longest film.
Yeah, definitely. And
Mm.
I think yeah, I would have to check, but it feels like it was probably one of his longest films.
Because he's kind of known for being very lean with,
Yeah.
like History of Violence, 90 minutes, Eastern Promise. And most of his movies clock in somewhere around 90 minutes, a little more, a little less sometimes. But this was, yeah, this had to be his longest. And
Yeah.
interesting. Like he had some things to say. So, you needed some more time with it.
This movie is very dialogue heavy. Most of it's all take there's very really hardly any special effects in this film. It's it has a very brooding sort of quality to it. Um
Yeah.
yeah, and so the background basically is Karsh. The film takes place a few years after Karsh's wife Becca dies of cancer. And Karsh is like it's sort of like he's this vague business guy. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of unclear as like what he did prior to her death, but he's definitely someone with means. Like he's like a quote unquote businessman. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think he produced industrial videos
Yeah,
or something
that's
like that.
right. But like, all right, that the vagueness though is like what, like industrial, like like fucking ministry videos or like what, or did he do like that's what I love about Cronenberg. He picks this like vague, random thing to make him to be a what his vocation was, you know?
Yeah, I kind of thought of it as like, those videos you watch when you like get a new job at a corporation. They make you watch like the training video. I kind of just assumed that's what they meant, but I'm really not sure.
But it's like such an interesting like thing for him to be, and it kind of plays into the irony. Like there's like a lot of irony in this movie. You know what I mean?
Yes,
That
yes.
Cronenberg has this dry like sort of irony in a lot of his films.
Yeah, it's a very funny movie, but I'm not sure a lot of people will pick up on that.
Yeah. So as a result of his wife's passing, he founds a new business, a new company called Grave Tech. And this is like one of the most morbid business ventures. Like I can't imagine anyone wanting to be have this in their life at all, but apparently it's marginally successful. So essentially Grave Tech is a system that broadcasts live in interactive 3D images of your loved one's decomposing corpse in real time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you download an app onto your phone and you
Or
can,
or tablet.
or tablet, yes, sir, probably on your laptop as well.
Yeah.
And you can watch your loved one decompose in real time. And this is explained to us in a bit of exposition that I thought was done really well. Karsh is on a date that his dentist set him up with. This is
Yeah.
really, honestly, one of the weirdest movies I've ever seen, but not in the way people are probably thinking. And they're eating in a restaurant that he owns inside of the graveyard, which I thought was probably the weirdest idea in the film.
But you know what kind of and what really grabbed me at first? I know we talk a lot about Thomas Ligotti, but like this film has a sort of vibe as like one of his stories though.
I can see what you're talking about. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like some vague industry. There's like some bizarre reality where there's a restaurant in a graveyard, like a
Yeah.
cemetery. And there's all this like the funnier aspects of this film are darkly humorous in the same way like a Ligotti story is humorous.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. I totally see the connection there. I get it. Um and yeah, a restaurant inside of a fucking cemetery. What an idea. And okay, well, the most important thing about all this is the shrouds themselves. That is like the technological thing. It's you're wrapped in it, and that's what allows you to see the body decomposing.
Yeah, like the technology doesn't almost doesn't make sense though, you know what I mean?
Apparently, according to David Cronenberg, this could be a reality. He said the tech is very possible, and to some degree exists to this day. Maybe the idea hasn't been no one's come up with that. I don't think it's a business or an idea anyone would want, but who knows? But according to him, the technology is very possible,
Oh, okay.
which, yeah, I mean, well, I don't know. Also, have to note that this began life as a Netflix show.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
He wrote 2 episodes to pitch to Netflix, to which Netflix told him to fuck off, I would imagine.
Yeah, I can
And
imagine like that not flying. No, I mean, all right, I'm going to reserve what I'm saying until we talk later on. Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I would have been very interested to see a 8 episode series from David Cronenberg to see where this would have gone. But once Netflix refused the treatment, he had 2 scripts, and I think he sort of kept some stuff from both of them. It wasn't like a simple act of just combining them and then making, okay, that's the movie. It He had to rewrite extensively, and probably something that along the lines of Mulholland Drive, I would imagine, how that started as a TV show and got reworked into a film.
So the funny thing is his date. He's on a date with this lady, and
Yeah.
they're in this cemetery in a restaurant that he owns. And there's like I forgot what the question she asked him about, or and then his response was like, "Well, how dark do you want to get?"
Yes, yeah, I had that written down.
I'm like, first date, this is some first date conversation. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
You know,
And, and
yeah, go
then
ahead.
he goes into the whole grave tech concept, and you can tell that she's like getting more and more uncomfortable with it as he's describing it.
Yeah, at one point she's like, "Do you think they'd mind if I smoked?" Referring to like the dead bodies or something. Which I mean, it seemed like a very like the way people react and discuss to this idea seems like completely believable to me. I don't know anyone who would want something like this.
Yeah, and yeah, it's interesting because Cronenberg wrote this on the tail of his wife's passing.
Yes, he passed away in 2017 from cancer.
Yeah. So I mean, I can understand in some ways, losing someone and having these like morbid fascinations with things. It's like, someone who's like a big part of your life, they're gone, and you don't want to let them go. And this is a way of staying connected to them, and they also talk about like, in the Hebrew religion about how they don't embalm or cremate, where the soul is like not comfortable with leaving the body just yet. So there's all this kind of like metaphysical stuff that goes on with this idea of like watching the body decompose and, turn into a skeleton and into dust, basically.
Yeah, it deals with some very heavy, heavy stuff, but it feels very emotionally detached from it all.
Yeah.
Like it's very dark subject. You're dealing with, death, the loss of a loved one, eternity of, possibly nothing. And it's all done in this strange detachment. And what I find interesting about that is the character of Kirsch, played by Vincent Cassel. This is like your typical Cronenberg protagonist, and Cassel plays him a little differently. I thought it gave Kirsch a lot of personality. I don't know, like if you agree there, but he's not your typical droll Cronenberg sort of leading guy. Like you think of Ballard from Crash,
Right.
or the guy from Cosmopolis. I forget his name. This sort of deadpan, like lack of any sort of feeling or emotion. But Kirsch, I don't know. He seems like he's like a good guy. Here's this rich, you know, business guy with a lot of money, all the tech gadget, but like I don't know, I liked him.
Yeah, I
Like,
definitely liked him. And a lot of it is like, Cassell is like one of my favorite actors. I love him. He's
yeah,
great all the time. And it's really this is the thing I was reading from this film. Okay. It's like he has a lot of emotional depth, but he is detached from this thing that's happened in his life. But it comes to him in his dreams, though. You know what I mean?
right,
Like
yeah,
he has a surface, like this placid surface, and he's very distant from people. But his internally, that's where you see he has all these very, very disturbing dreams. You know,
right, and yeah, they almost come to, they don't even feel like dream sequences. They feel like he's like they're actually happening.
and I think that a lot of it is like the way that people cope with these things is they keep everything inside and the external appearance remains placid and detached, but inside he's like this roiling inferno of emotions and things like that.
Right. I really feel like, I mean, I can't be the first person to point out that Vincent Cassel looks exactly like David Cronenberg in the film.
Yeah, it's like how Lynch has like, Kyle MacLachlan, who looks and dresses and wears his hair almost exactly like David Lynch.
Yeah, so I really feel this guy is some sort of like a fictionalized version of David Cronenberg.
Yeah.
Um, and I did see some interviews with him that really gave some great insight into this film, but we'll get into that because there's this whole conspiracy theory plot that really drives the entire movie that in the end I kind of thought really meant nothing,
Yeah.
but that was probably the point. Um, did you, I got to be honest, man, I had a very hard time following the conspiracy stuff.
I did too, and I still don't fully. I have to watch it again to really get it more about what's going on, but I think it speaks to what you're talking about, how there really was no conspiracy.
Right. Yeah. I mean, something did happen because it does end with a body. But you're not really sure what happened. And yeah, that's I believe is the point. We should point out that okay, so the graveyard's vandalized. We meet the twin sister of his wife and the twin sister's ex-husband, played by Guy Pearce, who is like a tech wizard or something.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
he's like an IT specialist, like one of these guys who develops AI. Um, so it's very relevant in that matter, AI being like the big hot topic these days, everyone's talking about
Right.
AI.
Right. And she, the twin sister, is turned on sexually by conspiracy theories. Okay. Um, and uh, and the ex-husband of hers created this AI that Kirsch uses to do everything for him. Honey
Yeah,
is his like it's his avatar. It's his AI assistant who is also voiced by the actress that plays Becca and Terry.
yeah. So he's constantly reminded of his dead deceased wife because it's the voice, and then the twin sister looks like her, but they seem to have different personalities, and
Right.
Maury is like obsessed with the idea of Karsh sleeping with his ex-wife, you know what I mean? Which is like he's like
Yeah.
terrified of that happening.
At the same time, it's suggested that he wants it to happen.
Yeah.
Like, which I mean, there's like a cold situation going on with that. He's a very interesting character. He's very like neurotic and seems to become more and more unraveled as the film goes along.
Yeah. And Guy Pearce, another top-notch actor, you know, killing it in this role.
Oh
Um,
yeah, he's great. And he seems to be again, he could have played this very differently, but he gives Maury like quite a bit of personality and humor. I think his character is a bit humorous.
yeah. So there's all right, so the vandalization of the graveyard of the cemetery. So they vandalize it. They encrypt all of the feeds so that none of the clients can utilize the technology to look at their to decomposing you know r- loved ones, right? So basically the whole operation has been sort of hacked.
Right. And that should be the plot of like this thriller-esque thing, but it's not a thriller. And the conspiracy stuff, while it's talked about a great deal, is sort of in the background. It's really, this is just a 2 hour movie of people talking, basically, about things. For instance, the main villain of the movie is this Dr. Eckler, who is not in the movie, you know?
Yeah, which kind of
Um,
harkens back to like Videodrome in some ways.
yeah, I mean, yeah, this like is very Cronenberg-esque, maybe not visually, but thematically. Although there is, I don't know if you got the sex scene between Terry and Kirsch is almost a mirror to a sex scene in Crash with.
Uh, yeah,
Did you notice
I
that?
was thinking the same thing actually, and I also Crash comes to mind in some of the dream sequences with his past wife.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
let's talk real quickly about like the dreams he's been having. Like the movie opens with him having a dream.
Yeah, he wakes up. he's screaming and crying in the dream, and he wakes up actually crying, and the dentist tells him your grief is rotting your teeth, which right then I knew Cronenberg wrote the movie. I
Yeah,
was like, that's such a Cronenberg line.
yeah. There's like this. We got it all. The Cronenberg elements. We got like the body stuff too. Even though what I mean, it's this in this case, it's like natural body horror, like decomposition. And the
Yes, yeah,
mind. His inference that grief is like causing some rotting of his teeth is like your mind morphing and controlling your body somehow, and these sorts of concepts are always very familiar in your classic Cronenberg film, you know.
absolutely, yeah,
And then there's the recurring dreams of his wife uh, appearing to him naked, and in each dream she's more and more like they're having sex and her hip breaks, and she comes back with her arm is missing. There's like a stump. So
yeah,
a lot of
more,
that stuff
yeah.
reminded me of Crash too, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like this film has more in common with Crash than sort of more horrific stuff.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And yeah, I mean, you wonder, are these visions, are they dream sequences, are they memories? You're never really quite sure if this is just how Kirsch is remembering things or how he wants to remember them. It's never really explicitly told because there's never like the scene where he sees his wife and then cut to him waking up, surprised. It just sort of is there, and then the scene goes on without her. So they feel like visions.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point because I was thinking the same thing, and completely like bizarre. Like I drew this comparison to like some in Native American cultures where there's like the dream world and the real world are the same continuum, you know,
Yeah, yeah, that
and
is
like,
interesting.
and I was thinking that might be some part of this idea with his wife, appearing to him in what seems to be reality, but they're actually more like in like a spirit world way, like a visual, like a vision, like you were saying.
Right, yeah, and through those we get like some more background, like the doctor, Dr. Eckler, she dated this doctor when she was 19 and he was like, in his 40s or something.
Yeah.
Which sort of fuels into the whole conspiracy thing. And you wonder, like, is this some sort of thing he concocted in his mind, like after her death to deal with the grief? You're never really sure.
Yeah. And so I guess a good way to pitch over to that though. So the here there's like these screenshots of what's basically his deceased wife's skull, right?
Mm,
Becca, her skull. And there's these weird growths on the bone, right?
right.
And he he's like, and this is like so fucking weird too, man. It's like 'cause that doesn't really go anywhere, you know. It's like, oh, they're part, something that was caused by the cancer that she had. These like strange like structures.
Right. Well, he goes to see a doctor, a Chinese doctor, which is somehow important to the plot.
Oh, right, yeah, yeah, that's right.
And he says like, these things could, once the body is dead, the cancer is dead. So these things must be caused by your shrouds or this or it's really the beginning of the conspiracy when he notices these like nodes on the skeleton or on the skeleton, and that's what causes him to go down this rabbit hole, so to speak.
Yeah.
Um, so they are somewhat important, but ultimately they're not important because we never really are sure if those things are actually real or if they're, at one point the doctor says these things were faked. Someone worked hard on these to make you think that these are real, but they're not. And you don't know who to believe or trust. By the end of the movie, you don't know what's real and what isn't, what's imaginary, what's in his head, what's in Maury's head. Like you don't really know.
Yeah, it's but I guess it's important. This part's important because it kind of triggers his anxiety and sort of paranoia about things.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, I mean, really, I mean, like I said, I watched an interview with David Cronenberg and really kind of put the movie into it made it make more sense. And he's talking about, he's an atheist, which I guess somewhat I am. I don't really, consider myself anything, but he says, people tend to, and I'm paraphrasing, give death is meaningless. So to help you cope, you give it meaning. And one
Mhm.
way is to invent these conspiracy theories. Like it had to have mean something. Like, oh, my wife wasn't given the right treatment. The doctors
Oh,
were
yeah. Okay.
the
Yeah.
doctors were experimenting on her, like you have to give it meaning to make sense. And in that little clip of the interview, I thought, well, that is what this movie is really about. It's just about uh, dealing with grief and the things we do to deal with this grief. And the ending I interpreted as this thing is something that lives with you, this grief, like you are altered by it. It's never going to leave you. It's always going to be with you. And now you're a different person and you just have to go on. I think really that's what the movie's trying. I don't know, but I think that's what the movie's trying to say. I think this whole conspiracy stuff is just a distraction for Kirsch. None of it's real.
That's a great point because if you think about this whole thing, right, from the beginning, Kirsch created this business, Grave Tech, as a result of his wife's passing.
Hmm.
All right. If he had not created Grave Tech, his wife would be in her coffin below the ground. And none of this stuff would have happened. He wouldn't be scrutinizing her decomposing body pretty much on a moment by moment basis in real time. He wouldn't have had clients that could have been hacked by some outside organization. Um, yeah, I mean, he wouldn't have viewed her skull with like these bizarre growths on it. None of that would have happened. He just would have lived his life as completely unaware of any of these things.
Right,
And if
exactly.
if they even were real, like the growths, they say at one point in the movie, they say the growths were fakes,
Right,
and he wouldn't have been in a position to be victimized by any of these people, like Maury or anything like that, too.
right, exactly. At one point, I even wondered if Maury and the twin sister were even real, or the businessman's wife, Su Min, who is sort of intertwined into this whole thing.
Yeah,
Which I mean, I was kind of confused as to why that character was there. But again, like, it deals with, trying to find love or just having sex with after your partner of however many years has died.
yeah,
I really think it's really about Kirsch's emotional state and his, how he's obsessed with his grief over his wife.
yeah. It's a powerful movie, man. Like, and
It really is.
it's not for everyone, for sure.
No, no, and not
I
at
mean, if
all.
yeah, if you're like if you thought like Terrifier 3 was great, this is not a movie for you.
Right. No, not at all. And if you're a Cronenberg fan, you love like The Brood and maybe Dead Ringers and all that stuff. This is not that. This is very much him in Cosmopolis crash mode. Even I thought it had a lot in common with his last film, Crimes of the Future. I mean, the body is reality sort of aspect from that last film. Well, I guess you could say that is part of all of his films, really. But this one really deals with body more like directly than some of his other films.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that completely. Yeah, it's I guess the takeaway from this whole thing is like there's like these empirical things like death. We exist and we live our lives and pass away. And then the people that are left behind create these whole mythologies and conspiracies around that drive them forward and allows them to cope with these losses in their lives.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
that's what I took away from the
yeah,
movie.
yeah,
And I mean, I gotta say, I really liked this a lot.
yeah.
Uh, I don't know if I'm dying to ever see it again, and but I really enjoyed watching it. Although, I mean, there are some few criticisms. I felt like this was Cronenberg's. It felt visually a little dead. It felt like TV actually, like you were watching visually anyway, an episode of like, ER or a show like that. You know what I mean? It wasn't as visually like rich as some of his movies are or have been.
Yeah, I agree with that. I thought it was a little bit long-winded.
Yeah, yeah. For a guy who's, very lean with his scripts and like ruthlessly cut scenes, a movie like A History of Violence could be 2 hours, but it's an hour and a half, and you don't really feel like you're missing anything.
Yeah.
Here, I felt, yeah, it kind of dragged a bit in sections and was sort of repeating the same. I think the conspiracy stuff got very knotty and nonsensical to me at one point. I think that could have been like I think there's like a good hour and 40-minute version of this movie that would play just as well, but I don't know. What do I know?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you in that because like there came a point where like I was from the straight off I was really into this movie. I was just like, all right, this is very interesting to me. But then I drifted a little bit like towards the middle, you know, and I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, maybe this is a little long-winded. And then ultimately when the end came, I was just like, I kind of had to let, I'm like, huh, okay. And then the movie just ends. You know what I mean? They're on a plane and it ends.
Yeah, it literally just ends. So I was like, oh wait, that's it?
Yeah.
I thought something was going to happen, but no, nothing happened. Again, sort of like Crash. Crash just sort of ends. Um, Other than that, like I liked Cronenberg. Some of his usual co-conspirators are with him on this. Howard Shore did the music,
Hmm.
and I honestly think this is one of Shore's best scores. I could see myself listening to this by itself.
Yeah.
It was a great score. Loved like the opening credits of that sort of dust, sort of loosely forming a body. That visually, that was some of the more interesting stuff in the movie, the opening and closing credits. Um, and he had his usual production designer, Carol Spear, who has worked on so many of his films. You can go back to his 80s and 90s films and see the name Carol Spears in there. And I love the look of the shrouds themselves. There's
Yeah, they
something
look cool.
very creepy, sort of Dead Ringers-esque about them. Um, that was some of the more interesting stuff visually to me about the movie. So while I liked this movie a lot, I wouldn't say it was particularly enjoyable to watch. Like I kind of agree, you drift a little here and there, but it brings you back in the end and makes you really think about what the hell you just saw.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, so now what would you rate it?
I give this a 4.5.
Oh, okay. A little bit higher than mine. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I give it a four, a solid four. Yeah, I really dug it. The only criticism I really have is the length of it. Like I just the editing um really could have been done differently, I think. But the concept was great. It looked cool. I loved Cassell. I thought it looked good. The score was great. Cassell is awesome. All the acting is incredible. Guy Pearce is always great in films, and I really enjoyed the interplay and the dialogue and the ironic dark humor I thought was really cool too.
Yeah, the dialogue is very interesting and very, very Cronenberg-esque. Like, and these are conversations that you would think no one would have it, but it sort of intellectualizes death in a very bizarre way. Like these conversations people are having, they're really interesting, but they're almost like they're in a different language. Like they're
Yeah,
speaking English, but you're like, what are they saying?
yeah,
Which reminded me a lot of Cosmopolis.
yeah. And like at the end of the day, man, it just like the whole point of this movie is like that there's the death is not the mystery that people make it out to be. You know what I mean? It just
Yes,
it's just
yes.
something that happens. It's like there's no mystery in our life or death as like mold growing in like a wet environment, you know? It's like if you think about it, oh, where does life come from? It's like, well, you know, you think about a damp basement then you have like a spore and then there's life there,
Right.
there's mold. It's the same thing as humanity. It's
Yeah.
like it's literally the same thing. And then it
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's a very, very heavy, dark subject matter. It's something we all have to deal with and come to terms with. Like, we're not going to be here forever, and we're going to be nothing someday. And it happens to all of us. And that's very heavy. And it's weird that something that heavy is dealt with in such a detached manner. And that's what gives it that, that's why Cronenberg is who he is, and no one else can do what he does. Like he just looks at these things at a very different way than most people.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm not probably not dying to watch this again, but I'm curious if like on a few more viewings, maybe the conspiracy will make more sense, but I don't think so. I don't think that's the point of the film at all.
I agree, but I will watch this again at some point this year, and after I think a second viewing would definitely solidify some of these things.
And it would make a great double feature with Crash.
Yeah, absolutely, man, definitely. I haven't watched Crash in a while. That'd be a good
It's
movie to revisit.
it's great.
Yeah.
On a also Cronenberg is 82 years old. He has stated this may be my last film. He particularly he seems non like, yeah, I could make another movie or I could not. You just, you're not quite sure if you're going to get anything more from him. But if this is his last movie, I think he's really going out strong, and a movie that is very, very much him.
Yeah.
And I would say it's a good way to end a long, interesting career if that is indeed his last movie. I think he's going out strong.
As much as I love this movie, I gotta say it's definitely not for everybody. Definitely
No, 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 not at all. It's not really a horror movie. We should, which we didn't mention, but it's very much. I'm not sure who it's for. I think it's really for hardcore fans of his work. But if you're a casual fan or just like a fan of horror, like you said, if you're a fan of Terrifier 3, this is not going to be something that blows you away.
Yeah, no,
Um,
exactly.
but it's a very interesting, powerful movie that deals with a very heavy subject. And I don't know if that's up your alley, then I definitely recommend this.
Yeah. So there you go, guys. That's this one I guarantee you all, this is definitely going to be pretty high on my list at the end of the year. Now that we're like
Oh,
in the second half of 2025.
I totally agree. This will be, top three. I mean, as of right now, it's probably my number one. uh,
Yeah.
so, but we'll see. Like I said, we still got a lot of time left.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
Take
Take care.
care.
closing